You are tuning in to the You Are Loved podcast, where we hope to bring love and kindness to the world.
Welcome to another You Are Loved podcast. We have the amazing Tamisha Souza again. We've had her once before, so you have to check out that episode. But as a reminder, she is a leadership and communication coach who helps high-performing men improve how they lead themselves and others, especially under pressure. Her work focuses on emotional intelligence, communication, relationships, and identifying the deeper patterns that impact confidence, connection, and leadership. She also works with women around communication, confidence, and relationship dynamics through a similar transformational approach. Welcome back, Tamisha. I'm so excited to have you back again.
Likewise, I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
So share a little bit about what you have going on. Like you said, there's some changes. What's going on?
Yeah, so I'm still kind of helping the same men in the sense of, like you just mentioned, emotional intelligence and identifying the deeper patterns that are running their lives. And so, for example, working with like a leader or manager of a company, and he's not able to successfully lead his team, or he doesn't have the respect, or he's not able to communicate what he's trying to communicate in an effective way. There's typically a pattern that is happening beneath that's running the show. And so I'm able to kind of excavate those patterns, rewire them, so that way he doesn't have to like think on how to react or how to show up. It just becomes like second nature. So still using that approach to help men, and started helping women as well. The biggest shift is that I'm helping men all across their journey. So no longer just Christian men. I obviously am still a Christian. I'm leading with those values, but I really want to make an impact and help as many people as I can on their journey.
No, that's amazing. All right, Tamisha, I think that is amazing. And so what do you think, like through all these personal changes that you've gone through, and both, I'm assuming probably personally and professionally, like what has God been teaching you in this current season?
That's a great question. I think first and foremost, patience and doing things on his time and leaning on him and not my own strength. I wasn't always a Christian. I became a Christian about 3 years ago, and I definitely had a mindset of like, it's all on me. I have to figure it all out. I have to do it all. And that's probably been the hardest thing to let go of. Not leaning on my own strength, right? And really including him in all things that I do. Praying before any major decision. I still sometimes default to my own knowledge and my own wisdom. And I'm recognizing that he sees the full picture. He sees the bigger plan. And I really just want to do things that pleases him and moves things closer to his kingdom. And yeah, that's kind of the thing I've been working on, just my relationship with God and being obedient.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I think that's amazing with all the new ways that you're able to impact others. So now part of your work centers around helping people stop overthinking and lead with clarity.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think your coaching approach evolved since the last time we spoke, which I think was like at the middle or end of last year?
Yeah.
And what have you learned from working with more clients, especially outside when you've definitely expanded and explored?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the biggest shift is my ability to really see patterns quickly. I think it took me a lot longer before. So sessions would be like 90 minutes. I need multiple sessions. And as my skills improve, then I've just worked with more people. People are very predictable. You start to kind of see the same pattern over and over. And the biggest thing that I run into is worthiness. It all kind of comes down to that. Am I worthy of success? Am I worthy of this marriage? Am I worthy to be chosen? And intellectually, people often think, yeah, of course I'm worthy, right? Of course I am. But the subconscious is what's really running the show. And so if that hasn't been cleaned up, it's going to show up in all parts of life. Even though you intellectually know you're worthy, or you intellectually know this is what I should do, the subconscious will self-sabotage. And the self-sabotage is really self-protection, right? So if something happened in your childhood that was really not necessarily like a big deal as traumatic, but it was very significant, that's the moment your brain said, oh, now I have to perform to get love, or oh, if I don't do X, Y, and Z, I'm not seen. And so that's when the subconscious grabs that and holds that. And as you get older, it's like that defense mechanism, that protection rears its head again. And that was necessary when you were younger to protect yourself and your psyche. But as you become an adult, you no longer need that. It's no longer serving you. And so what I found is through seeing those patterns, getting to the root of it, addressing it, and then rewiring the brain, right? Our brain is rewirable, for lack of better words. You're able to let that go and move forward. And so another thing that I've learned is that trauma wants to close its loop. So a good example is if you get into a car crash, right? You're an adult, you have to call insurance, you have to handle stuff. So it's almost like your body goes into this mode of like, okay, I need to handle stuff. But you never actually handled yourself. And so I don't know if you've ever seen these videos on YouTube where animals get into a traumatic situation, like they almost got killed or anything like that. At the end of it, they start shaking their body. It's like they're shaking their body because they want to release that stress. Trauma, right? And so as people, we don't typically do that. We just kind of keep going. And so the moment you have, relaxation or a pause, that's when PTSD comes to mind, right? Because your body's able to actually relax. And all it wants to do is close that loop of what was open when that traumatic event happened. So my job is really figuring out what is the pattern, what are the open loops, closing those so that you can live the life that you want to live without any of those interruptions that are stopping you.
When you say closing the loop, do you mean like healing?
Yeah, I mean, healing is a very broad term. What I would say from a like technical lens, say you come to me with a problem. For example, I can't stop overthinking or overanalyzing. I know my life is great, but there's just something I can't put my finger on. I keep replaying these conversations in my head, and I don't know why I'm so hard on myself, right? That's a very common thing that I get. And so as I talk to them and kind of get to the nitty gritty, it turns out typically in their childhood or at some point in their life, their brain was told, I have to overanalyze, I have to be perfect in order to be loved or accepted or promoted or whatever it may be. Because perhaps when they were younger, they only got the love when they won their baseball game or they were, valedictorian or had straight A's, whatever it is that happened. Doesn't really matter what happened, which is also really great because with therapy, you're focusing on the past and often reliving that. And I do think therapy has its place. But when it comes to coaching, you're just taking a snapshot, a moment in time. You're allowing yourself to fully experience that trauma so that you can let it go. And so it combines both your thoughts, emotions, images you see, and then also body sensations. So there's somatic work in there as well.
I love that. Okay. Thank you for clarifying. Yeah. Last year when we spoke, I was like either in and out of like this relationship I had been in for a year. We dated. And it wasn't until recently that I came to the actualization that one of the things that subconsciously attracted us to each other, like we had stopped talking when we ended things at the beginning of the year. We stopped talking for a couple months, but we're friends now. And I still care about him, but as my friend, I don't, but one of the things that I realized that we bonded over was like we trauma bonded, right? And so we both had abandonment stuff, and then we both actually, like, he was which he still is, and I think he needs to go to therapy, but it's not my place to tell him that. Just to be kind, and where he's angry at women, right? And then I had an underlying from past traumas and stuff like that happened to me a long time ago, had been angry with women. I mean, not women, with men. And then him with women, me with men. And then myself having a portion of myself of feeling unworthy, or like as soon as someone started to care about me or love me, I either felt that their intentions were mal or like, how could they must be stupid if they do. You know what I mean? Like these are
Yeah.
all the subconscious stuff that as through therapy and coaching and different things like that I've worked through, and God revealed it to me, just that whole trauma bonding part this week actually.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, okay. You know, okay, that bird decided to like go all out. So anyway, so yeah, so definitely closing that. I feel like that that portion of what the Lord like delivered to me will help to close that loop and bring clarity to that. And so now you can be like, once I'm conscious of something, then I'm able to put that in my toolbox and be like, okay, this is what that is. And I
Mhm.
need to make sure that I'm not falling back into that, that same
Yeah.
pattern, whatever. So I think that's awesome. So speaking of like patterns, like breaking old patterns, when someone realizes that they're stuck in a pattern, that awareness doesn't always lead to change.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what does it actually take to break free from those patterns and stay free?
hmm So, with the work I do, it requires really radical honesty. And so, if you're at a point where you just want to vent or talk about what happened, I think that's a great place for therapy because you get validation, you are heard, you have a safe space to share. However, once you've done that, the clients that come to me, they've typically gone through therapy. They're kind of like, okay, I've talked enough about it. How do I actually move forward and how do I actually change it? And so that's the biggest difference with coaching. We're focused on the future and we're focused on actually hitting the goal that you want to hit. And so with the work that I do, awareness is the first part. I can often uncover the true thing. So, for example, a person might come to me because they want to get promoted at their job, right? And then once we start the sessions, it's kind of like, okay, you want to get promoted at your job, but we haven't cleaned up all these other things. And so through my coaching and conversation, all of that will come up and they'll have that level of awareness. Then once we do the processes that I'm certified in, that's when we dig a little bit deeper and we're able to rewire that. That's the best way I can explain it. So it's not hypnosis. You're fully conscious. You're fully present. It's just a matter of being open, saying the first thing that comes to your mind without a filter. So trying not to overanalyze or overthink. And really, I have to build that trust so that they're able to just share. And I'm not writing notes on what they're sharing. This is all just unconscious content coming to the surface that we want to let go and release. And so we're just trying to get from, they can start at overthinking and feeling frustrated or anger to feeling at ease, peace, compassion. And that all can happen within a session or two, it's incredible. The challenge I sometimes run into is that if someone has identified with their story of being a victim, of being betrayed, of being overlooked, right? It's sometimes hard for them to let go of that identity. And that is what's actually keeping them stuck. And so it's kind of like, wait, one session, I can't be that easy. I've been carrying this my whole life. There's no way. And so I found that's typically the challenging part where the person I'm working with is not ready to let that go. And I can't force you. You have to want to let that go.
Yeah.
I can't force you to want to change or heal. So the perfect client for me is just someone who's radically honest. They're ready to share. They're ready to let go of that old story, and they won't let anything hold them back. Like they're open.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. Yeah. Because if you really want that true change, you have to be open. And you're like tired of being in this one place. And you're like, I need to move forward and I need to work through the tough stuff inside of me to break this so I can move ahead. Now, do you also work a lot in dating and marriage relationships at all and do coaching in that?
Yeah. So I've been coaching for about 5 years now. It's definitely pivoted. When I first started, it was pretty much life coaching. So business, overthinking, of course, dating, marriages, relationships, all the things. Did that for a little bit. And I noticed, especially with men, that regardless of what they came to me for, almost always there was a sense of like, I'm doing this because I want to find my person, or I'm doing this because I want to leave a legacy, or I'm doing this because I want to be a better provider. And I thought that was very interesting. And so for about a year, I focused just on relationships and dating. And it was very fulfilling, but I found that most the clientele that I want to work with, they typically don't recognize that that is why they're stuck. And so it would take a couple sessions to kind of get to the root of it, and then recognizing of, oh, I'm doing this because I want to be a provider. I want to leave a legacy. I want to have all my career stuff in order so I can start a family. And so typically they didn't have that awareness when they came to me. It was more so just the surface of what they want to solve. And then we get to the deeper root as I continue to work with them. So that's why now I'm really going back to what worked, honestly, and just helping men and women with the immediate obstacle that they have.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a female client right now. She came to me because she wants to have a deeper connection with both men and women, deeper friendships. She doesn't know why she's not able to maintain those relationships, why people don't open up as much, why she doesn't have like a best friend, right? And so that's what she's coming to me for. However, I have an inkling as I continue to work with her, there's things underneath that, right? She's very successful in her career. She's very much an independent woman. She can provide for herself. And so that energy, although it is useful in your career, right, as a woman, when it comes to friendships or relationships, if you can't turn that off and you can't soften, you're going to run into that friction, because it's like, as a woman, if you're independent, you got it all going on, but then you also want a man who is that way, like there's a power struggle, right?
Yeah.
You have to like release and surrender so that he can step up. And what I've noticed with a lot of men I've coached is that there's this sense of like, where do I fit in? Like in this dating climate, like women can do it all.
Yeah.
It's like, what can I do? And so that's a big theme that I see with men, that intimidation with women in dating.
So one of the other things, like, what do you think is one common mistake that people make when trying to gain clarity in relationships?
I think the common mistake is trying to read and podcast your way out of it. So using the analytical mind, right? And I'm not to shame podcasts. I'm on one right now, or books or resources. I think they're incredibly powerful. However, that's just a lot of knowledge, and you can kind of get on the hamster wheel of like trying to self-diagnose. And even if you have all the awareness in the world, it's like, okay, I have the awareness. What do I do with it now? Right?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, okay, I know I have these issues, and I have abandonment. I know I'm an avoidant detachment. I'm anxious. I'm like all the things. And it's like, okay, but what do I do with it? And so that's really where coaching comes in. And even with the wave of AI, right? Using AI as a therapist or whatever, it's still going to only get you so far. Number one, it tends to affirm everything you say, right? And number two, you're missing that human connection and element of a coach being able to read between the lines, your pauses, your body language. Those are the things, those nuances that make all the difference that AI is not going to be able to do, or at least not yet.
Right. Yeah, but still, it's nice to be able to have that human connection, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, not like, because trust me, like I've had a therapist, which she still is, but now it's sparingly when I go to her, because she's really helped me out a lot. But and then I've used ChatGPT, especially for late night questions, or like if I'm definitely overthinking and I'm having some anxiety, and a lot of that has to do with control and me not being able to control the situation, and being afraid and like being hurt, and just and then wanting, just figuring out the right ways to respond. So, but that's just, sometimes that just gets exhausting, and it's better just to be quiet.
Yes. I can relate as well.
Yeah. So okay, now what is the rapid rewire method?
So that's what I've been talking about this whole time.
Okay.
So it's a modality that helps you get rid of any obstacles. It allows you to achieve any goal that you want to achieve. And the biggest one, it allows you to let go of any limiting beliefs. So that one's huge. That's probably the one I work on the most. And we use a variety of different tools to excavate that and release that. And so now I'm at a point where, I've done enough sessions, and I'm getting certified in like the next level, and I'm able to help people with phobias, with deep fears, with heavier traumas. And it's incredible what this work can do. There was a lady who witnessed a very unfortunate event at the beach, A surfer hit themselves and they passed away. And so she
Mm.
witnessed that event and saw the body and was just like, whoa, obviously that's a big event. And she couldn't go back to the beach. She felt like this fear of the water, and it was just really replaying in her mind. Even though she didn't know the person, it was just like shocking, that mortality. She ended up like looking him up on Facebook and kind of going down this rabbit hole of like, who is this person? And so, long story short, they did a process on her, and within one session, she was able to let that go and release that. And when we followed up, she was at the beach, no
Oh,
problem,
wow. That's
and even
great.
signed up for surfing lessons. I'm like, what? So it's really powerful what this work can do.
That's amazing. And so how would someone learn more about that or get in touch with you? Because I don't think I have any links for you, Tamisha. So
Yeah, I can definitely share it with you if you want to
yeah,
put it in the comment box.
description
Or
and
whatever.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
description. There you go. So I have a 15-minute call. You can hop on with me. I'm pretty direct. I'm very straight to the point. And so within those 15 minutes, I can identify what your core pattern is, what has kind of been running the show. And so again, you have that level of awareness. And then from there, if I think it's a good fit, I have a 2-week program. 2-week program is like, again, it's very straight to the point. So whatever your biggest issue is, we'll tackle that first. And then from there, if you want to continue with long-term coaching, you can. But it's been kind of a mixed bag. Often the folks that I work with, 2 sessions is enough. And then those that want to do deeper work, for example, they came to me with career stuff, and now we uncovered there's also dating stuff or relationship stuff. We can continue to work on those different areas in your life. But the main thing you're coming to me for is typically resolved in 2 sessions.
Oh, okay. I love that. So it's basically it's 2 weeks, but it's once you talk once a week. So it's
Yeah,
twice,
so
right?
it's
Okay.
2 sessions at 75 minutes. And then you have access to ask any questions throughout the week. And that's it. It's very
I
simple.
love that. Yeah, and I think that's great for busy professionals as well that are looking to tackle something that they're wanting to accomplish. And it's a short-term commitment that they're able to get through and not have to worry about it being this long-term thing.
Yeah,
And then if they want to be able to move forward after that, I think that's a great intro to the amazing work that you can do.
thank you.
So yeah, I think that's awesome. So, okay. So like myself, right? So like I get into these patterns where I'll like start overthinking, but that isn't just me, obviously. It just seems like to be at an all-time high right now with a lot of people. Why do you think people feel like mentally stuck? And like, I don't know if I asked you this question or not already, but like, what's one shift you think that could help break that cycle quickly?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that are keeping people stuck is decision fatigue and just like dopamine overwhelm. Especially with AI, you can get any answer
Mm,
at your fingertips at any time, right? Obviously, social media and all the things, but I think AI has really increased that. And even the content that I'm seeing online, it's like most of it is AI. You can start to see the patterns even in AI language. And so I think it's just the overwhelm of so many choices. Do I read this? Do I go to therapy? Do I get a coach? Is this coach good enough? I'm scared to invest. Should I pay for this? Maybe I should just do it myself. So there's just all of these options, and it can get overwhelming. And especially for people who have already invested in a coach or invested in a program or a retreat or whatever the case, there's also this sense of like, I don't want to get burned again. I want to make sure this actually works. And so I think that's the biggest thing. There's an overwhelming amount of choice, and sometimes it's hard to just pick. And that's where the overthinking and the overanalyzing comes in.
okay. All right. Okay. So your mission is clarity that leads to peace. Correct me if
Mhm.
I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But for someone listening right now who feels overwhelmed, confused, or mentally exhausted, what
Mhm.
is one practical step they can take today to start moving toward clarity? In
Mhm.
addition to taking your rapid rewire course for 2
Yeah.
weeks.
I would say hop on a call. Ultimately, you can suss people out and suss out the coach very quickly. Most coaches offer a free discovery call of some sort. I offer that 15 minutes, and you can discern from there, like, okay, this person really gets me. I believe that this person can get me to my goal. And I encourage clients to ask questions. It goes both ways. I'm trying to see if you're someone I want to work with, in the sense that, are you ready to let go? Are you going to be radically honest? Are you ready to see the change? And I've turned people down whom I can sense they're not quite ready yet. And I'll refer them to therapy or a book or whatnot, so that once they've completed that, they're actually ready. Because the worst thing I can do is take you on as a client. There's all this resistance, and then it doesn't actually work, right? So I want to make sure I want to work with you, and vice versa. They want to make sure they want to work with me and make that investment. So my biggest advice is hop on discovery calls. I'm happy to as well. And ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Ask the hard questions. And if the person you're talking to can't give a clear answer, or they're not able to articulate what they can do for you, then that might not be a fit. And so don't be afraid to actually just hop on those calls and talk to people.
Okay, I love that. Well, I wanted to have you on the pod again. So then I had my guy reach out to you because, like, I really enjoyed our first conversation. I think you have an amazing spirit. I love what you're doing and offering people. And so hopefully people will take, that want to make some of those breakthroughs and changes, that they reach out. So, but, one last thing, if someone is
Mhm.
listening and feels like they have been overthinking their life for far too long, what would you say to them right now?
I would say you're not alone. This is a very common thing. It may feel very lonely and isolating, but I promise you, you're not alone. And there are so many people that have been able to overcome that. And I think there's a sense of comfort in that. And so, regardless of where you are in your life, if you feel hopeless, a breakup, you lost your job, single mom, family issues, whatever it looks like for you, there is hope on the other side. There are people who have gone through crazy things of trauma in their life, and they've been able to overcome it. And that always inspires me when I see someone who has this crazy story, or grew up with like abuse, or just things that I can't even fathom, and they have been able to get out of it on the other side and find that
Mm,
peace and that clarity. And so, to me at least, not even as a coach, as a person, I think that's so inspiring and so hopeful, and it shows that change is possible. You just need to be open to that change so that it can be possible for you.
okay, I think that's amazing. If someone wanted to find you, do you have a website, or where can they go to find you?
Yeah, so I suggest just booking a call. I use Calendly, so I can give that link. There's some questions beforehand, just so we can kind of dig a little bit deeper as to why you want to hop on this call and what you're seeking. That way, those 15 minutes, we can get straight to it. Like I said, I'm pretty direct, and I like to get right into the heart of things. And so those questions help me to kind of steer where we want to work. And again, if I don't think it's a fit, I'll refer you to another person or another source. But either way, that 15-minute call is going to give you the clarity on exactly what's keeping you stuck. Because you may think it's overthinking, but it may be abandonment, right? It could be something totally different. And so you're on YouTube, why do I overthink? Why do I overanalyze? But it's really because you have an avoidant attachment, or it's really
Mm,
because you haven't forgiven your mom or your dad. There's something deeper happening. And so often people are also chat GPTing or Googling things that's not actually what's happening underneath. And so if all else fails, that call will at least show you what the true pattern is. And then if
mm.
it's a fit, we'll actually rewire it. If it's not, then at least you have clarity on what it is. And it can be a confirmation of, okay, yes, it is the overthinking and overwhelm, or it may be something deeper.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I don't appreciate you keep mentioning avoidant attachment, by the way.
I can relate to
I'm
that.
just kidding. I'm only kidding. Okay. Tamisha, yeah, so we'll put all the information of how people to reach out to you in the description. And then where they can get some more information as well on your programs. And so I look forward to getting that. And thank you so much for coming on today. Is there any last thing you'd like to share before we go?
Ooh, well, thank you for having me on. I love this conversation. I appreciate the opportunity to share. I would say the one thing is that you're not too far gone. Wherever you are, whether you feel, I know we've been talking a lot about overwhelm, whether you feel alone or abandoned or hopeless, or like another thing I've been seeing is like, I'm getting older, I want to start a family. I haven't met my person yet, right? Those thoughts, those anxieties, especially within women, you're not too far gone. You don't give up. There's definitely possibility for you. And kind of close the loop on this conversation. Include God, include Him, pray to Him, give it to Him. You're not alone in this struggle. you can include him in it, and he wants you to reach out. And I believe the moment you reach out to him, it's like you're co-creating, and he's here to guide you along. And I might be a tool for you, right? But ultimately, it's him that's doing all of that within your heart. So that's it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. That is beautiful. I totally agree with you. And I hope you have an amazing day.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Thanks. Everyone, thank you so much for hopping on another You Are Loved podcast with the amazing Tamisha. And we look forward to being able to hopefully have her on again later on and seeing all the new changes that has happened. And if you want to be able to help get your children started off right, don't forget about our one of one fun workbook for kids to explore who they are and who they want to become. And then our teen journal, Vision to a Journey, that has a vision board, which you can find all of that and more at youareloved.store. All right, everyone, here we go.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of You Are Loved. If you have any topic ideas or would like to be a guest on the show, please hit us up on Instagram at youareloved.store.